this for the podcast,
but. So you reading anything good these days?
The current book I'm reading, well, aside from leaked Supreme Court opinions, Daniel. No, the one thing I'm reading that's bringing me enjoyment and pleasure is a book called The Birth of Loud. Leo Fender, Les Paul, and the guitar pioneering rivalry that shaped rock and roll. So it's very, very good. It's by Ian S. Port. He is a music reporter and critic from San Francisco, I believe. I think he wrote for the Chronicle for several years. It's very, very good. And the chapters are all super short. It's like 280 pages, but there's like 30 some. I'm on chapter 30, starts on page 188.
I quietly judge authors by the length of their chapters. Like, especially if the chapters don't have like breaks throughout them, then I really judge them. Like, oh, here's a 30-page chapter.
If you give me breaks, it's fine. If you give me breaks, it's tolerable. Or break it up into sections, that's fine. But like these chapters, I think the longest chapter so far has been like 10 pages. Like they're very, very quick. I almost like little magazine articles. So
I'm currently reading Watergate: A New History by Garrett M. Graff. What?
I admire your ability to read about things and just talk about like heavy, terrible, depressing things.
Yeah, man.
Like I
don't think I can overemphasize how much the years 2016 to 2021 broke me. I admire you for it. I'm not knocking you. Like, and trust me, I used to read stuff like that all the time, but like I just can't now. Like I totally, it's the same thing. Like every time like some new Oscar bait comes out about like the Holocaust or slavery or some other awful historical events, like I don't need to see this. I'm sure it's great. I'm glad the actors are getting paid, and you know these filmmakers and all the crew are getting paid, and they're back to making movies and doing what they love and having some income. That's great. I'm glad theaters are open again, but I don't need to. I don't like surprise. The Holocaust was terrible. Like, oh, I didn't. Thanks, Kate Winslet. I had no idea. I had no clue. I would love to go back to the days where Star Wars: A New Hope was nominated for Best Picture. Right. Raiders of the Lost Ark was nominated for the Best Picture. But now we get Black Panther was nominated, a few years ago. We've had this discussion. I don't think that should have been nominated. It wasn't even the best Marvel movie that year. So,
but you get my point, though. It's like, another, like, that's why, like Coda was like, it's kind of like paint by numbers a bit and airy and fluffy, but like, at least it's like happy. At least it shows like, yes, they're deaf, but like, they're not like wallowing in misery the entire time. It's like, oh, wow. It's like people that actually like achieve some measure of happiness. And like, I don't come out of here just feeling just completely just like gutted. Like I just,
so you know, we're live streaming now.
That's fine. I get it. Like I can't read or watch stuff like that anymore, because if I do, I have to really pick my moments, because I'm already so attuned to just how terrible everything constantly is that in my free time for fun, I just don't need to see it or read it. So the fact that you can plow through those books all the time, more power.
I don't plow through them. They're slow reads.
I will gladly keep reading my books about guitars. So,
just one of the next books I'm going to read is The Heritage: Black Athletes, A Divided America, and the Politics of Patriotism by Howard Bryant.
And again, Howard Bryant's great. Yeah, no, I'm sure that's great. Again, my views on not being able to digest that sort of media is not any reflection on the quality of the media. It's just, the content, because it's too heavy for me. And I got to pick and choose my moments. Although
I get it.
The next book that I want to read is on Wendell Scott. I intend to read a book on Wendell Scott here soon. And then it's the month of May. The Indy 500's around the corner. There's a really good book about a driver named Charlie Wiggins. He was a terrific black race car driver back in the 1930s, but drivers of color were not permitted to compete at the motor speedway in the 1930s. So, or really anywhere at those times. So a lot of black drivers had their own circuit. And here in Indianapolis, there was a race called the Golden Glory Sweepstakes. It was like the premier race on the African-American race circuit. Charlie Wiggins won 3 of those races. And so it's just about not just him, but that whole scene. It was written by an IU professor. I forget his name at the moment. I forget the title of the book, but both of those are on my list. I'll probably knock both of those out next. So,
all right. I haven't read. Month of May. That's what I was gonna say. I still need to finish the book about the split. I still need to. I didn't get very far into that. So
that is just every time that a good decision could be made, they just didn't make it. Spoiler alert, anytime the clear, obvious, easy choice was there, they said, what if we did this instead? And just alienated everyone that cares about the sport. What could go wrong? Oh wow. Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart went to NASCAR. Great. So
yeah. It's and then they ceded ground so NASCAR could take over the spotlight.
Yep, good for them. Good for them. Would you like to get into some? Are we officially
tweeting out the link?
Okay, I was about to say, are we officially starting the podcast now? Okay.
Discuss the NASCAR Hall of Fame picks, nominee, or wait, inductees. Is that what's the right word? They were just announced.
They're inductees.
Okay, so all right.
I just have it on the NASCAR Hall of Fame Twitter page.
And our favorite NASCAR throwback paint schemes. And more. Come hang out. Oh, come hang out. As we discuss. All right. All right, that is tweeted out. So let's. All right. All right. So anyway, I guess we're starting. So let me get back on the Zoom. All right. So, and welcome back to Dropping the Hammer after a brief hiatus. We are back with Dropping the Hammer with Dan McFadden. I'm Dan McFadden. And with me again, after his own sort of more lengthier hiatus from the show, my good friend John Laughlin. Back for another go around and ready to get hammered.
You know, a guest of yours or any of your friends that you would invite onto your podcast who had even a shred of self-respect would be so mad that you just introduced them like that. But me, being completely shameless, I don't care. You know, I love getting hammered with Daniel. There's your pull quote for the DVD for the Blu-ray cover. I love getting hammered with Daniel. You know, and then attributed to shameless lawyer. Just not even my name, just shameless lawyer.
Well, I like introducing you with an alternate middle name, and I forgot to think of one. So.
It's okay. No. You know.
Have you ever watched Psych, the TV show?
Is that the one where the guy pretends to be a psychic?
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Okay, well, there's this the ongoing joke on that show was that Sean would introduce his friend and partner with an alias every single time, no matter the circumstances. Here's my friend, Gus, such and such. It was just a new, funny, weird name every time. So I was like, I'm gonna make John my Gus.
You know, I've never been anybody's Gus before. I've been someone's podcast co-host several times. I mean, that lost its luster years ago when I was still a child. But I've never been someone's Gus. That really.
Once you've been a co-host on one podcast,
I've been doing this circuit for decades, man. I've been doing this since before Squarespace even existed.
Oh God.
Anyway,
back before ZipRecruiter advertised every podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yep, everything. It's like that meme where the astronaut's staring at the Earth, and there's the astronaut behind him. It's got the gun pointed at his head. It's it's just Squarespace. It's always been Squarespace. You know, just I don't know we've gotten off to such a rocky start here, man.
No, this is great. But anyway, we're recording this. We're also live streaming this on Wednesday, May 4th, 2022.
Oh, it's Daniel's favorite day.
Yeah. Yes. Like I didn't even think about it until I woke up this morning. It's like,
that's right. You care more about the actual day that the first Star Wars was released in theaters.
Yes,
That's your Star Wars day.
That's my Star Wars day.
There you go, and that's totally fair.
I
don't care either way.
Not this whole total corporate, shenanigans. It's like, come on, man. No.
I'm a real Star Wars fan. Damn it.
But no, I didn't even really think about it until I woke up this morning in bed. It's like, oh, a new Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer's out. All right, I totally forgot about that.
Well, then tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo, where everyone's a little Mexican.
The views expressed by John LaPaul on this podcast do not express.
Hey, man, no. When I lived in the Valley in Texas, everyone's Hispanic down there. Like, no one cared. No one cared. And I was just like, so is it really just a white holiday? Like, yeah, it's just a white holiday. Like, oh, cool. Like down there, it's just like tomorrow's just going to be like a Thursday down there for them, and good for them. So,
so anyway.
But aside from just being Star Wars Day, we got some NASCAR stuff to talk about. Do you want to start with the Hall of Fame? Do you want to start with Dover?
Let's do the Hall of Fame because that literally happened 90 minutes ago.
Sure.
So they just announced the NASCAR Hall of Fame class for 2023. And
2020.
And in it include they send in 3 people now, plus the winner of the Landmark Award. But the inductees this year, or next year anyway, for the class of 2023 are 2004 or 2003 Cup champion Matt Kenseth, 4-time Cup champion crew chief Kirk Shelmerdine. They're on the modern era ballot, and going in on the the Pioneer era portion of the ballot is Herschel McGriff. And the winner of the Landmark Award was Mike Helton, the longtime NASCAR executive and a senior advisor to NASCAR. So you said before we started recording, John, that the only name you knew was Matt Kenseth, 2003 Cup champion. What does Matt Kenseth? What does he mean to you?
Another question I thought I would never get asked. I have a whole book of thoughts on Matt Kenseth.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, meh. Chapter 2, meh. No. I'm being facetious. Yeah, Kenseth is the only one known to me. We were talking off air. Shelmerdine, when you said he was Earnhardt's crew chief for the championships he won in the 80s, I think that just shows my age. I was born in 88. I didn't start watching NASCAR till like late 90s. So obviously that's a big deal to win that many championships, especially with someone as notable as Dale Earnhardt. Obviously I can't speak to Mr. McGriff either. That's just the age thing, and I'm not a NASCAR historian. So, but for Kenseth, honestly, even when he was at his peak and winning championships and always competing, like he was just always one of those drivers I just felt indifferent toward. Like when he won, I wasn't upset, but when like he got in a crash or something, like I didn't think like, oh man, like he wasn't like that much of that polarizing of a figure to me. Like for me, and probably a lot of people, like he'll always be remembered as the guy that just took out Logano. And I'm not trying to diminish his accomplishments or anything. I'm not trying to diminish his entire career to one incident like that. But like that's like whenever I think of Kenseth, that's my immediate go-to is I immediately think of him just like taking out Logano and everyone in Martinsville just losing their minds over it.
Yeah. So like me and Kenseth, we go way back. Does
Kenseth get hammered too?
No. Just from the late 90s, you'd watch the Busch Series races, and it was one of 3 people: Dale Earnhardt Jr., Mark Martin, or Matt Kenseth, who were likely winning a race there, 98, 99. So for me, being a Dale Jr. guy, it was, I hated Kenseth, hated him because he was the other guy who was winning. And then they both, went up the cup at the exact same moment. And I always resented Kenseth for getting a title and doing it pretty quickly within 3 years, and Dale Jr. never getting it. It was like, oh, Matt Kenseth. And then later in his career, I kind of came around.
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling Earnhardt Juniors and your legacy drivers. I would have won. I don't know where that came from. Just the way you sounded, just I can just imagine little Daniel watching a TV with his foam Earnhardt Jr. #1 finger, just getting irate at Matt Kenseth. I can't imagine anyone getting irate at anything that Matt Kenseth does, because like, again, like he just seemed like, I don't want to say he's vanilla, but like he just didn't register for me. Part of it's just because a lot of his success came during like my blind spot for NASCAR.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, gosh, how many wins? He had 39 wins. I know he won the series championship. He won 2 Daytona 500s, a Coke 600, a Southern 500.
The Coke 600 was his first win.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2000. Gosh, I was oh my gosh, I was in 5th grade when that happened. So yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at his resume on paper, if you just removed the name and just told a casual NASCAR fan, here's this driver's accolades, put him in the Hall or not, like, yeah, like obviously it deserves to go in. But I do wonder, like, what posterity will ultimately render on Matt Kenseth, like 50 years from now.
Yeah.
Like I'd be curious to see like what the pulse of people, of NASCAR fans are, who like, will people still even like have an opinion.
If you were to take
Kenseth?
like I said, I think Matt Kenseth sneaks up on people, and his personality snuck up on me, because I didn't realize until, just a couple of years before his full-time career was over, that he is hilarious.
Yes, and he's very good in the booth too.
Yeah, he was very good at Auto Club this year. But no, I love his sense of humor. It's very, very droll, very whip smart.
Very Midwestern.
I don't know how to define Midwestern sense of humor, but I just don't remember ever just recognizing that, back before, like 2010 or whatever. But like in the last, up until 2015 forward, it's like, oh wait, this guy's got jokes. Like I remember his last win press conference at Phoenix. He was just whipping out jokes, having a good time. And it's like, I wish I had recognized this earlier. I might have not have been so cold to him back in the day. But I think if you polled NASCAR fans today, it's like, give us your top 3 memories of Matt Kenseth. They are, in no certain order, getting his championship with 1 win and resulting in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Going after Brad Keselowski at Charlotte in between the haulers and grabbing him in a headlock, which no one saw coming. Not a soul. I was there. That just completely came out of left field. No one would have expected Matt Kenseth to do that.
Like a silent fart. Silent but deadly. Next thing you know, you're in between some haulers and a headlock. Matt Kenseth's just saying a bunch of droll, dry jokes to you, and also probably saying some very choice words. Yeah, no, I forgot about his championship just having 1 win. I forgot all about that, and that's probably his biggest legacy, is it not? Because like,
it sucks that it shouldn't have been, because
that's not his fault.
Other people had done it though. Not like Terry Labonte, 96, 2 wins.
Right.
Gets a title while Jeff Gordon had 10.
Mm-hmm.
In 93, Rusty Wallace won 10 times, but Dale Earnhardt got the championship with fewer wins. Other people had done it, but Kenseth went and did it, had an incredibly consistent year, and then they switched the format, so yeah, it gets blamed.
Was he driving for Roush at the time when he won?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he was driving for a big team back when Roush was still like one of the big teams.
He raced for Roush up through 2012.
Yeah,
I believe 2013 was his first year with Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, right now that's kind of Matt. He broke the system. And again, that's not his fault. I mean, the rules were the rules. I mean, anyone else could have.
No, he didn't break the system. He was just consistent, and the system rewarded that kind of consistency.
Yes,
breaking the system was what Ryan Newman almost did in 2014.
Right,
the year of the eliminations, where he made it all the way to Phoenix without a win and was like a restart away from having the title. That would have been breaking the system, which Matt Crafton did in the Truck Series.
Right. But like, if Dale Earnhardt won the championship with just one race. Like we all like, of course the rules don't get changed, at least not as quickly as they did. Because it was almost as soon as Matt Kenseth won the championship with one race, it seemed like immediately there was, they were just trying to go for the chase for the cup or whatever. So, yeah. But like, I do wonder if it's one of their prestige drivers, like if it's Gordon or if it's Earnhardt or if it's Mark Martin or if it's Dale Jarrett. Like, do we see that?
I mean, that's a good question.
I mean, maybe we do eventually, but not. It seemed like that was it was such a stark like realization where everyone just kind of realized at that one moment, like we got to do something new. And if it's one of the old guys and it's not, Matt Kenseth,
I'm one of those people who think they actually should have gone to the playoff format sooner, because it makes the back half of the season more interesting than it would have been otherwise. Like it makes like last year with the Bristol night race last year was one of the best split screen moments that I can recall in NASCAR in the playoff era, where you got Harvick trying to go for a win, him fighting Chase Elliott and Larson. Then you have the guys who are like trying to advance, and it was riveting like the last 25 laps.
Right.
And you wouldn't have gotten that in a normal.
Right. Or even like
race.
or even like some of the moments we've seen in Martinsville in the playoffs, or even adding Daytona as the regular season finale. I mean, I think the first race they did as the regular season finale, Daytona, was one of the best racing we've seen in a long time, in quite a while.
And I was there. I was there last year, and I was just waiting for that race to just turn into a cluster, and it never really did until, like as usual, the final portion of the race. But before it was riveting racing.
Yeah, it's great.
It was great.
So thank you, Matt Kenseth. Thank you. Thank you for the memories we got after you retired. And
he's still keeping active. He's going to be doing the SRX racing for a couple races this summer. He just competed in the Boston Marathon.
I mean, yeah, he's only 50. He's not an old man. Yeah. He's still got, when you first see his list, when you see these other lists on these other names on the nominee list, again, it's just like, oh, I mean, yeah, Kenseth, sure. But then like also like Jeff Burton, Ricky Rudd, Carl Edwards, Neil Bonnet, you're like certainly those guys belong in too. But then you stack up their resumes of Kenseth, and like you said, he sneaks up on you. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, of course Kenseth is the best driver here. But like it doesn't hit you. You've got to look at the resume, but then it's obvious once you do.
Well, I think if you win a cup title, you're in. Like that's
that's fair.
Like if Alan Kulwicki is going to go in after just getting 4 overall wins and the title, you're in with the cup.
Right, but that's exceptional, isn't it? Not just because he died pretty young, did he not?
I don't know what his age was at the time.
Like he hadn't been racing very long, had he? This is riveting podcasting because now I'm going to his Wikipedia page. Alan Kulwicki. He was 38 when he died. He had 5 wins, 75 top 10s. How long has he been racing at the cup level? He'd only been a full-time driver for 6 years. He had full 6 seasons in cup, starting in 1987. So he had 6 seasons. And he had 7 wins. And again, like, it's just one of the, and he died in an airplane crash. He just died young. I absolutely get why he's in the Hall of Fame, for sure.
Yeah, but because he's now like there's weird like limits, like what are the thresholds, and he's like one of them now because of that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but like
I don't think Davey Allison should be in.
I don't have necessarily an opinion on that, but like, how many champions did he win a championship?
No, never won one. He won the Daytona 500. The most often quoted stat about him is that like his win rate was like really incredible. But he only had like 18 wins. He won the Winston once, won Talladega a couple times.
He won the Daytona 500, the Coke 600. He won the Winston 500 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah, I mean, he's got he had 19 wins and how many starts? I mean,
Yeah, it's the win rate people really usually point to.
Yeah, when you have such a small sample size, I mean,
but I just think, like, for me,
you
like,
just have to work with that.
If his name was like John Smith and not Allison, and his career just weirdly ended in the spring of 1993 for unknown reasons rather than a tragic helicopter accident, I just don't think. I don't.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put him in.
You just get into those things. I mean, but that's context, and that's part of the debate.
Yeah.
That's part of the argument, and I absolutely understand why he's in. I've never sat down and thought about the merits of Davey Allison's Hall of Fame. Well,
it's hard. Like you said, like he died in 93. I was 2.
So that's why I don't have an opinion, because like I wasn't even. I think I was just in kindergarten when he passed away. So like I never saw him race. Like if I go back and watch a race, it's going to be on YouTube. And like I just have the benefit of history of watching that. So, you know who I looking through the list of finalists for the nominees here. I was surprised that AJ Foyt wasn't already in. I know he's much more on the IndyCar side, obviously, because he has 4 Indy 500 wins. He's arguably the greatest IndyCar driver of all time, but he also won the Daytona 500. He won like 7 NASCAR races, and this was
included Daytona.
Yeah, and like this is a time. This is during a time when there was a lot of back and forth between series. It wasn't uncommon to see like Kurt Busch doing the double was an event. Like back then, that was just kind of the usual business back then. So, but this was like AJ Foyt was like a guy who could just, if you put him into anything, he would win. Not to say that Kyle Larson is as good as AJ Foyt, but it's that same like anytime that you see Kyle Larson in a car racing something, you expect him to be doing well at a top level. Same with AJ Foyt, and I'm really shocked he hasn't already been in. I mean, I know he means more to IndyCar, but I mean,
I think a lot of people make the argument that like AJ Foyt helped legitimize NASCAR during that period just by gracing it with his presence.
Right.
I think that has to do with some of it. But like there's people in the Hall of Fame with fewer wins than him.
Right. And the thing is, like, he never ran a full season in NASCAR. I don't think. No, he never ran a full season. So, I mean, that's probably where it comes in. He got to pick and choose his spots, but I mean, like, imagine just parachuting into Daytona and running away with the damn thing, like, and still him
and Mario Andretti can really like only.
Yeah, exactly. So, it would be like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think. Like take like Bubba Wallace, never driven in an IndyCar, and like you just parachute him into the 500 and he wins, and he just says, "Okay, bye, see ya," and he just like that's the equivalent of what that would be like, So I just maybe like you said, maybe it's if his name wasn't Allison or if his name wasn't Foyt, he wouldn't be in. But I just again going to context, like it seems like he needs to be there, does it not?
I think eventually,
right.
He's do it. Get these people in before they die. Like that's like let them have their moment, because there's not like an indie like I'm sure AJ Foyt's in a lot of Hall of Fames right now. Like the IMS Museum.
Yes.
I'm sure it has a Hall of Fame, right?
Yes, it does. Yes.
But I don't know if you consider it as high profile as the NASCAR Hall of Fame, because like the NASCAR Hall of Fame has its inductions like televised.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, like, I don't know, like if you're AJ Foyt, like of course you're going in the Hall of Fame. Like it'd be like, I wonder if there is footage of like his acceptance speech for the IMS Hall of Fame, because like I wonder if it'd be like Michael Jordan's acceptance to the NBA Hall of Fame, like the Basketball Hall of Fame. Like he seemed so petulant because he seemed so bothered to be there, because like of course he was always going to be there. Like it's just like why do I have to make this a big deal? Like I'm the greatest. Like duh, of course I belong here. Like I wonder if AJ did the same thing, because he's from Texas. He's been rough around the edges. So I wonder if he would seem a little petulant at times about that. But also, just while we're on the IndyCar link here, I know that Janet Guthrie was a name.
I don't like. She needs to be in. Like
right.
Again, the landmark award at least.
Right. Like I know she wasn't the first woman to race in Cup. The first one was back in like the 40s, but she was certainly.
She finished in the top 15 in her first Cup start, which was the Coke 600.
Oh, she was a badass. Janet Guthrie is an unmitigated badass. And if you want to see more footage of how much of a badass she is, and all of the unnecessary grief she had to put up with. Watch that ESPN 30 for 30 documentary. It's called Qualified.
Yes, I watched it. Yeah,
if you have ESPN Plus, it's on there. It's terrific. She's great. You talk about Matt Kenseth's dry, droll humor. She has that in spades. She's great. That whole documentary is wonderful. I highly recommend checking that out if you haven't seen it already. So,
but no, I think she should undoubtedly to do what she did at the time that she did it.
Yes.
That should go into like, it's like, why is Wendell Scott in? Because of what he did when he did it. So
also the fact that she wasn't driving for top teams in IndyCar or NASCAR, and like she had to go out and be her own. She was her own marketer. She would negotiate her own sponsorship deals with companies, and then take that money to these teams. And then the big teams still wouldn't let her drive, so she had to go with these small mom and pop teams, and she would still overperform in that equipment. And she was a mechanic too. I think she went to school for aeronautical engineering, something like that.
Something with the word aero in it.
Yes, I believe. She's brilliant. She's so smart. I
want to read her biography or autobiography.
I do too, but they're really hard to. The few copies I see are they're super expensive.
Yeah.
But I'd love to read it too. But she's fascinating. She's incredible, and she absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame for sure.
So yeah, the only other one I can really even talk about among the new inductees is Kirk Shelmerdine, who was crew chief for Dale Earnhardt during 4 of his 7 championship runs in 1986, 1987, 1990, and 1991. He also scored 46 Cup wins during his 16-year career before he rode off into the night to pursue his own racing dreams as a driver. But like I'm pretty sure he won all 4 of his titles before the age of 33 as a crew chief.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure. Like I said, 46 wins, including in 87, he and Earnhardt won 11 together. And that was when the season was only 29 races long. Comparing that to Ray Evernham, who only won can't see. Only one.
We're live, folks.
It sucks having a webcam that's not built into the laptop. So Ray Evernham only won 3 titles with Jeff Gordon there in the late 90s, and he only won. All right, he won 47 races. He and Shelmerdine were basically tied. But like I said, Shelmerdine got 4, got him before the age of 33, before he walked off, and Evernham only got 3, but people, credit him for, innovating pit stops and stuff like that. He was very instrumental in like the IROC series and all that. But I personally think that Kirk Shelmerdine should have been in before Evernham. But that's not the case. But he's in now, as he should be. I think there's a lot of people who think crew chiefs don't get enough credit when it comes to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So
on his Wikipedia page, it says he got an admonishment from the Federal Election Commission for running a Bush-Cheney car scheme in 2004 during a race, and it actually has a link to it, and I've got it pulled up here.
I did not know that.
The complaint alleged that Kirk Shelmerdine Racing LLC may have made an unreported independent expenditure or a prohibited corporate expenditure when KSR placed the logo Bush Cheney 04 on the rear quarter panel of the stock car that raced in 4 NASCAR Nextel Cup races, and that this communication did not carry a disclaimer. The commission found reason to believe there may have been a violation, but took no further action and sent an admonishment letter.
Huh. Learn something new.
That's a good chuckle. Oh man, that's like why? I mean, there's probably some law or some rule somewhere that makes that like a thing that the FEC has to care about, and like the FEC is very important. Obviously, I'm not trying to say it's not, but like it's like just send him a letter. It's so. Anyways, yeah, I think I don't have anything else left to say. I made my piece with. Speaking of Matt Kenseth. Were you there at the tweet up when Mike Joy was there?
Yeah.
Maybe you posted this video, but I thought this was fascinating. So obviously,
I did, where he's telling the story about him keying up.
Yes.
Yes, that was me. Yes.
Yeah. So like, I thought that was fascinating, and like, obviously, it makes sense to me when you hear it, but like, you don't. It's not there. It's not surface level. But like, so obviously, these drivers sometimes get into kerfuffles, and they have some animosity, and sometimes they talk it out, sometimes they don't. That's real life. It's adults. It happens. So obviously, Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano don't like each other. They still do not like each other. Matt Kenseth is at the track as part of the Fox broadcast, and he has to talk to Joey Logano. But like,
it was Mike Joy's idea.
Yeah, but like, they're both like professional about it, like Kenseth and Logano. Like, they know it's TV, and they know that, like, they know it is what it is, and they're cool about it. And Mike Joy gives that little talk, and it's really kind of cool. But then on the flip side, Danica Patrick's in the booth, and she made a point to go out of the way saying, I am not talking to Ricky Stenhouse, which is totally fair. It's totally fair, because it's not like they got into like a kerfuffle on the racetrack or something and they got into a fight. Like, they were dating. They were in a serious relationship. That's a horse of a completely different color. So we
don't know how that ended. So
we don't. So, and it's not our business. And so, but I totally understand where Danica's coming from, but it's just one of those things, like, you don't think about that. And so, like, of course, those are conversations you have to have in the production booth when it's going on. But I think it's really cool that Mike shared that. And I hope that Danica didn't hear about that and get mad, because, like, she's not wrong for wanting that. Like, that's totally fair. Yeah. I would not want to talk to my famous ex-girlfriend during a broadcast when I'm trying to do a job. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. Like, that would suck, right? So, but I thought that was interesting. And props to Kenseth on being down to play that sort of game. So
I've always wanted, like, when it comes to, like, stuff with, like, Kenseth and Logano, I think from a member of the media's perspective, I think at the start of every season, like, drivers should, like, fill out a survey. It's like, all right, who am I beefing with? So we can keep track. All right, who's mad at who's friends? Who wants to punch someone? Because it's really kind of hard to keep track at some points. Like, Did they get into it once or not?
Well, speaking of punches, I guess we could segue this into the Dover race. We had a little stare down on pit road after the race.
There was no punches.
No punches, but I mean, Truex was heated, and Chastain didn't care. But we had a bit of that. Obviously, that's not the starting point for this race. This Dover race on the aggregate felt very weird and herky-jerky, and part of that was the rain. Part of that was just the actual race itself. What were your thoughts on this? I mean, obviously,
it's like I think we've talked about it. It was like the Phoenix race. Like we're on, the average, scale of races for that track. It was fine.
Right.
It was not bad, because there's been plenty of bad Dover races.
It's the first Dover race I can recall something happening in a long time. Like, I thought back to last year's Dover, and nothing. There's a non-factor. I can't think. And even I can see your brow just wrinkled trying to think too.
Who won?
That's
see?
What I'm see?
No, wait, I know. No, Alex Bowman won.
Bowman won.
They swept the front four.
Yeah, the front four, that's right.
But no, that Kyle Larson dominated that race and would have won if not Alex Bowman having the fastest pit stop of the year to that point that got him out the lead. There were green flag passes for the lead in this race. More than one. And then you had a lot of tire strategy, because tires were starting to shred. Not in like an Indianapolis 2008 kind of way. Every 10 laps.
I was at that race. That was awful.
But there was the danger of it. So it was interesting. And then, like, first off, you go back to Saturday, Chris Buescher gets the pole. No one would have pegged Chris Buescher as getting the pole, and it was his first career, not just his first Cup pole, just his first NASCAR pole, period. He never got one in the Xfinity Series. So for him to go out and do that, it's very impressive. But then I wrote my column today for Front Stretch, which will go up tonight for tomorrow, on Chris Buescher and this pole. It's the first pole that RFK Racing has gotten on a non-super speedway since 2013. So that says a lot. Like, they're still looking for their first non-super speedway win. since 2014. So this is a little bit of a step, hopefully, in that direction.
Right. It's encouraging because I know, obviously that the penalties to Keselowski aside, they have struggled, especially outside of the duels that they swept. They've pretty much been a non-factor. I don't think at least in the episodes I've been on, we haven't talked about Chris Buescher once.
Yeah.
If I recall, Keselowski performed well in this race too.
I do not know where he finished. I think you've become the Google guy.
I have become the Google guy. He came in 20th. I take that back, but he came 10th in stage 1, so he was up near the front at portions of this race. So,
but this is so far, Chris Buescher has 3 top 10s. He finished 8th on Monday. This is the fastest he's reached 3 top 10s so far in his Cup career. The previous high was last year, which was race 12. So that's just one more race. But hey, this is a team that's just, outside of 2 Stenhouse wins at super speedways, has just kind of stunk the bed for 8 years. So they're working on it. It's they're not in paradise yet. They're not back. They're not even close to being back. But a step in the right direction.
For sure. This race felt so. It was like whoever was out front, something bad happened to them. like first, so Denny Hamlin's out front. Looks like he's got the car to beat, and then his tire comes off. He goes to the back of the field. He races his way back up, and he's in 3rd. He obviously looks like he has the best car of the field. Looks like it's still his race to lose, even in spite of the tire issue. And then a Rick Ware car goes sideways and takes him out.
Yeah. Nothing outside Richmond, where he won because of a long green flag run and pit stop strategy. Nothing's going good for Denny Hamlin this year.
No,
not even a thing.
We can come back to that here in a second, especially regarding Rick Ware. But and then Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman are out front, and they look good. But then a caution comes out, and then suddenly their whole day goes. And it just seemed like whoever's up front, it's like whoever was running up front, they looked like oh yeah. They look great. I don't know if it was just by virtue of them being in clean air. I don't know what it was, but then something would happen, and it just seemed like whoever got the break would be up front next. It's like, okay, it's your turn. Let's see if this new strategy or this new portion of the race turns in your favor. And it just so happened to be Chase Elliott at the end. So
I don't know where Chase won and finished in the stages, but he just kind of showed up there. Him and Ross Chastain had a really good side-by-side battle there.
Chase just came in 10th at the end of stage 2. He did not place in the top 10 stage 1. So
okay. So, but no, him and Ross, there was that one restart where they stayed side by side for a while.
That was great racing.
Who's gonna give it up? It's
great racing.
This is fun. And then unfortunately on the next restart, Chase just kind of scooted off. But hey man, Ross Chastain, 2 Cup wins so far, leads. I believe he leads. He's got 6 top 5s, which leads the series to this point. I will check myself, which is just kind of remarkable for this team, seeing as technically, this is a first year team with Trackhouse going to 2 teams for the first time. So for him to be doing what he's doing.
Right. So, it's not just the fact that it's
7 top 5s. He has 7 top 5s.
It's not just the fact that it's Trackhouse Racing in the first year of the second team. It's the fact that it's Ross Chastain at all. I think the fact that he's with a new team, hypothetical new team. I know a lot of it's still in-house from Ganassi last year.
Yeah, it's majority 100.
Yeah, and that's not me trying to diminish what Trackhouse is doing by any means, but no one picked Ross Chastain to have 7 top 5s and 2 wins right now.
No.
A good I remember last year, a good day for Ross Chastain was maybe a top 10 finish and maybe lead a couple laps here and there.
Well, he had a shot at winning Nashville.
Yes, he
came
did.
In second to Larson. He was in the running at the night race at Darlington. It was Hamlin, Larson, him. He almost got by Larson.
Yeah,
he just couldn't stick the landing.
Yeah.
And then he kind of, drifted a little bit back.
But he's gone from cute story to contender. And I know it's only May 4th, and we've still got a lot of the way to a lot of the schedule left to race, I should say. But as things stand now, I mean, how could you not?
He's not fluking into anything.
No, he's not.
He had 3 straight top 5s there in March. Led the most laps at Las Vegas, had the car, had cautions that landed unfortunately in places, showed up out of nowhere at Phoenix to challenge for that lead, fighting Briscoe and Reddick. Just couldn't stick a landing. But then you get his win at Coda, then you got Talladega
win,
where he a lot of the stuff that he's been talking about these last couple of months is that he's just being more patient. He's not making aggressive moves where he probably would have a year ago or 2 years ago. And he didn't at Talladega, he didn't do anything. He stuck to his line, and the guys in front of him just kind of got out of the way.
Is that your Donald Duck impression?
I can do it.
You have to do the rest. You have to do the rest.
I can't talk, but I can make
That's the challenge. That's the challenge.
I can make the.
I was about to say we want the fans want an entire Donald Duck podcast. Give us your thoughts on Kevin Harvick's 9th place finish while talking as Donald Duck, and go. Oh God. Oh, I think we need a commercial break, folks. Oh man, that was speaking.
Have you tried ZipRecruiter?
This episode of Hammer Time with Dropping the Hammer Thing with that is brought to you by Squarespace. That's my commercial voice. That's my NPR commercial voice. Sticking with Trackhouse for a second. At the early part of the season, it was Suarez and Chastain. Now it's just Chastain. And we've had a couple lackluster finishes from Suarez here. And part of it, I know going back to Coda, he got taken out when it wasn't his fault. But
Talladega too, he
Talladega as well, yes. He got taken out. He looked like he broke a bone or got some kind of bone bruise on his left toe there.
Yeah, he said
he took a hard hit.
That he actually injured that in training. He actually did
training. Okay.
He didn't injure that in the race.
I figured he would have bumped feet or something because just the way he got hit. But Dover is one of his best tracks, and he admittedly says it's one of his favorite tracks to go to. You would think that, and again, he qualified well. He qualified 4th or 5th. He was in the top 10. He was right next to Chastain. And he was kind of up in the mix there for a bit. I know he did some gambling with some pitch strategy, with some tire strategy, and faded a little bit. But 14th, especially for a guy who's trying to race his way into the playoffs, and with as many winners as we already have, it seems like if you want the easiest way to make the playoffs is going to be through wins. And I know 14th on paper looks fine for Suarez given how he's been, but just at this track and how well his teammates been doing lately, is it the car? Is it just some bad luck? Is it coincidence? I think it's a conversation worth having. I'm not trying to fire Suarez or get him out of that ride, but
it's really just things happening. They've got a good equipment.
For sure.
They're showing that.
Yeah.
It's just he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time and something happens to him. I can't think of a time of an instance where Daniel Suarez just made a mistake.
Well, you could say he made a mistake in this one with the incident with Corey LaJoie, where he just Suarez just again. I'm not taking sides, but you could say that Suarez nosedived, took a super low entry to that corner.
Okay, when I say make a mistake, something where you're the next day going, man, I can't believe Suarez did that.
Right.
I didn't even remember what you were
understandable.
So, I think he has Suarez's entire Cup career up till last year has just been an unfortunate series of events that weren't of his doing.
Right.
So
yeah, and we've talked about that before. Also just kind of going through I see Cody Ware's name. Okay, I texted you about this, but I really look, as I've said before your conversation with BJ McLeod a couple episodes ago, If you're a back marker, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're a small team on limited means and you're just out there doing what you got to do, that's A-okay. But like, they never mentioned BJ McLeod during the broadcast, and that's a good thing. It means he's not mucking things up and getting in the way. Josh Bilicki, they never mention him on the broadcast. There's been so many instances where it's always it's a Rick Ware car that's several laps down, mucking something up. Yeah. And we see it here at Dover, taking out Denny Hamlin, who had the best. He was in third or fourth at the time, but he had the best car. He was marching towards first place. Like, it was obvious that Hamlin was probably the car to beat. He just got
loose coming out of 4.
I know he just got loose, but then also going back to like
he didn't make like a boneheaded move or anything, but he has made them. He clearly
See, he has. So you agree with me? He has. So even if he doesn't do anything here, you still can't help but go, ugh, not again. And it's just frustrating as a fan because, you know. And again, there's even time like Kurt Busch had a bad day. He came in 31st. He's out there just having a Monday drive just to put miles on the engine, but he stays out of the way. He didn't make a bad situation worse. Yes, he was in the accident, but then after that happened, they didn't mention his name again. And I know it sounds like I'm piling on here, but you get what I'm trying to say here.
He's an easy target. He is.
I'm not trying to say he's a bad person. I'm not trying to shit on Rick Ware, but like, it's a reoccurring thing. And it just, every time it happens, like it's you can kind of chuckle at it when it happens in a vacuum, but when it takes out like the best car on the track as he's trying to get to the lead, then you're just like, damn. And because then you as a fan, you feel kind of cheated. Like, wouldn't you want to see like Hamlin and Chase Elliott like duel for the win here, especially given their history? Like, that'd be fun. And we got robbed of that.
Hey, man, racing things happen.
I know. And I know in this instance, he didn't do anything wrong. But again, as you said, there's a history. And because of that history, it colors this moment, even when he didn't do anything wrong. And it's just,
unfortunately, like he's had his issues at Martinsville a few years ago. He's had an instance where he clearly wrecked a teammate on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But he also, he's also got, documented, mental health problems that he's, dealing with, and, being put in the spotlight for stuff like that on a regular basis can't help.
Right. Completely noble. And I understand that everyone's got, speaking of mental health, I don't know if you saw it, but Jeff Gluck's article on Sage Karam.
Yes.
On the Athletic.
Yes, I read that this morning. Yes.
It's great. It's a very well done piece, and props to Sage on being brave enough and honest enough with himself and with readers to share that part of him.
I couldn't believe it's been 7 years.
That's another thing
that threw me for a loop.
The passage of time only speeds up the older you get, it seems. But mental health concerns are very real. They're very serious, and I would certainly never criticize someone in that way, because we've all been there. Even whether you're the president of the United States or NASCAR driver or just a schmuck on a podcast, you've had mental health issues, and getting help for that is always okay. But again, I'm not trying to. That's honestly fair, but it just, I don't know. It always seems like it's a Rick Ware car. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it's never BJ McLeod or Josh Bilicki. It's always a Rick Ware car, and that's not a coincidence.
Well, they are a lower funded team. They don't have the best of the best. They don't have the best of it. But you had Ryan Preece in a Rick Ware car this last weekend, and he qualified really well for a Rick Ware car, though they did have a little bit of help from Stewart Haas Racing.
Right, but still, and Ryan Preece came in 25th. He beat Ryan. He beat Brian Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and Kurt Busch.
Really, Blaine, wow.
Blaney came in 26th, and he beat Austin Cindric, who came in last. That's a good day for that car and that team equipment. That's a good day.
Yeah.
And Cody Ware, I'll just leave it at that.
All right. So you mentioned it, but we kind of forgot to follow back up on it. The stare down between Chastain and Truex on pit road. Here's the thing:
are you guys gonna make out or something?
Well, here's the thing. I was listening to the Teardown podcast at the Athletic, and Jordan Bianchi, asked Gluck, do you remember Truex ever like doing that? Like just marching down pit road and having a serious conversation with another? And I thought about it, I was like, I don't recall that ever happening. Of course, he had his whole, he might win the battle, but he's not going to win the damn war.
Yeah,
at Martinsville
yeah,
with
and then Logano goes out to win the damn war. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
but that's other than that. Yeah, I can't remember Martin Truex Jr. ever doing that. Ever.
No, he's always been pretty even keeled.
So that was surprising when like they went to the split screen during post race and you're seeing Truex talking to Chastain, and I'm like, okay.
But to be fair, like Chastain and Truex were next to each other almost that entire race. It felt like, especially on Monday. Like it just anytime they showed the rear camera car on Chastain, like there's Truex trying to get around Chastain and he can't do it. So obviously there's some frustration there. And what did you think about? I mean, obviously Chastain. I mean,
it's the last lap.
It's the last lap. Truex is going for it, but do you think Chastain was in the wrong there? Or was it just hard racing at the last lap?
Well, Chastain later told, I think it was Chris posted a Twitter video, a very short Twitter video where Chastain acknowledged, yeah, I crowded him. Probably shouldn't have done that. But I'm like, it's the last lap.
Right.
I mean, it's only like a 1 point difference, really. But I mean, you never know where that point's going to come. Where you might need. Thank goodness I finished second at Dover back on my May 1st.
Right.
So,
but also if you're Truex, he hasn't won a race yet, so every point matters right now. So so going back. Okay, I'm tying all these threads together now. Going back to Kenseth. And where late in his career, the temper flared up. Like, where did this come from? It's like when we were talking about it, it reminded me that happened to Jeff Gordon. Mm-hmm. Like, no one would have expected for the first decade of his career. Because you just get to the point where you have nothing left to lose.
Yeah, but also you just but like no one would have expected it, and then all of a sudden. Texas, like 2011 or whatever, he flies off the handle at Jeff Burton. It's like, where was this? Where has this been? And then 2014 Texas, and then at one point, you hear the story of him after getting in a wreck at Chicagoland in the early 2000s, walking up to Mike Bliss at the airport afterwards and just clocking him. Have you heard about that?
I have, yes. I forgot about that story, but yes, I do remember now that you mentioned it. Mm-hmm.
So but you just never would have expected that from the first decade of his career. And same thing. So same thing happens with Kenseth. It just comes out of nowhere. So Truex. This feels kind of sort of like in that same, like no punches were thrown, no one was shoved, no profanities were
just a very stern conversation.
Yeah. So, and there's questions about what Truex is going to be doing after this year because he's in a contract year. Could he be done after this year? So, and after Jeff Gordon's incident at Texas 2014, he later said part of his reaction was that he, at that time, had already decided that 2015 was going to be his last year. So he was ready, fighting for everything at this
right
point.
Well, I mean, just in cases like Jeff Gordon, at that point he was already an established brand.
Yeah.
There's not much, you have to be so meticulous on the way up, but once you get there, Pepsi's not going to drop him over that, right? And as for Martin Truex, I'd like to see him back. Correct me if I'm wrong. He has his own sponsorship with Bass Pro Shop, right? That is not with JGR.
Yeah.
So he brings his own sponsorship to the table.
Yeah.
So he has leverage.
A little bit, yeah.
So as long as Bass Pro Shop wants to fund him next year, even if he's not at JGR, he could realistically get a ride elsewhere, correct?
If there's right now, the only legitimate, off the top of my head, opening next year is the number 10 at Stewart Haas. Eric Almirola is retiring.
Yes.
But Ryan Preece is there as a reserve driver. You could just infer with that, that's the door, or that's the seat for Preece.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if Ty Gibbs gets promoted to the 19, is Stuart Hawkins Truex shows up knocking on the Tony Stewart's door, like, "Hey, buddy, I have this nice fancy check here from Bass Pro Shop. You want to do some business?" Like,
Well,
and that's not a degradation to Ryan Preece. Like, he's a good driver, and I think he deserves a cup level, a top tier cup level ride. But like, Martin Truex Jr. is a champion, and
if you're asking me, right, like right now, like if going into next year, who do you choose, one or the other? I'm going to go Truex.
Well, yeah, everyone would.
So yeah, but yeah, as of right now, yeah, number 10 ride's the only like top shelf ride that's really, But then there's also the questions about Kyle Busch.
Oh yeah, because he did not seem like things were okay there. But who knows if that's just him being salty or
he's been that way the entire season.
I know.
Like he won at Bristol, and even then he couldn't like.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it sucks when you don't have a sponsorship lined up next year, like for all that you've accomplished, and you're, obviously going to wind up in the Hall of Fame one day. And now M&M's says, "Okay, see ya," and now you've got nothing there yet. And I know that, especially in these days, it's really hard to get companies to throw millions of dollars just to put their logo on a race car. So no matter who you are, so it's hard. I don't know. I would assume Kyle Busch stays. No, I'd be shocked if he didn't, just because he's been there forever.
Like if you'd asked me going into this year, I was like, yeah, Kyle Busch is going to stay with JGR forever. But then you take the Mars thing into consideration. Well,
I mean, the same thing happened with Jimmy Johnson. Like Lowe's said, "Okay, see ya," but like Jimmy Johnson, got it done, and like a sponsorship was found, and they made the deal.
Yeah, they got Ally. So,
yeah, so but Ally is still in NASCAR.
Yeah.
So I just
but like again, Jimmy as good as Kyle Busch is, as good as he is, he's not Jimmy Johnson.
I know he's not Jimmy Johnson.
He's not seven-time champion.
I know he's not Jimmy Johnson, but at the same time, like he is still a legitimate contender for a championship. Like if he won the championship, I'm not saying he's the favorite, but if he won the title this year, I wouldn't be shocked. No one would be. Like he's Kyle Busch. He's still a contender almost week in, week out. And I would, you're telling me you can't find something out there? And it's not like, as for as salty as he is with the media, like he does commercials. He always, name drops M&M's and Mars when he has to.
Yeah.
He plays.
Really, I don't think he's ever done an M&M's commercial, to my knowledge. I'll have to look on YouTube.
He plays nice with sponsors. He does the corporate walk that you have to do. He does Toyota commercials and all that stuff because they pay the bid. He's salty, but he's not stupid. So, I mean, I would be shocked. I honestly would be shocked if Busch is gone.
But if he was like when I was at Talladega and I was in that scrum where he was like being very snippy and stuff, like, if they don't get anything, goodbye.
Yeah.
So he inferred, hey, I might not even race next year. I might be Brexton's truck driver.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, okay. Like if Kyle Busch just was straight up not in NASCAR, or at least the Cup Series next year, that would absolutely shock the world. Like that would be the news of the decade, and we're only 3 years into the decade. So,
yeah, it's definitely something to monitor. It makes too much sense for it not to work out. So, and same with Martin Truex. Like as good as Ty Gibbs has been, like, is he ready for Cup? Like when he's not driving the best car in Xfinity, and now he's one of 4 guys at the Cup level with Kyle Busch as his teammate. Like, I mean, I'm not saying he'll never be a success in Cup, but like, is he ready now? I don't know.
I'm an advocate for anyone, regardless of talent, should at least get like 2 years in Xfinity before going.
Has he done any Cup level stuff? Like I know, like Noah Gragson will do some Cup level races in Cindric. He hasn't done anything like that yet.
No. So
yeah, at least one more year, you would think.
And like up until for the most part, I feel like we've finally migrated out of that period where the hot stuff driver just bang, bang, bang moves up as quickly as possible. I think William Byron was like the last case of that. Because like Chase Briscoe was an Xfinity for years. Austin Cindric was an Xfinity for years.
Reddick stayed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Won two titles.
Custer was there for a while.
Yeah, it feels like we've finally gotten out of that, but Ty Gibbs may be a return to that. But given the way some of the stuff he's done this year, like getting into kerfuffles on pit road.
That's the word of the day, kerfuffle.
This podcast is brought to you by the letter K.
On today's Hammer Time podcast with Keenan McFadden. That's my terrible Kermit the Frog. And the winner of Dover was Chase Elliott. Yay! Anyways, that was, and with that, we lost our last person watching live on YouTube. I have nothing else to talk about Dover. I think we've touched on just about anything. Chase Elliott won a race finally, his first oval race since winning the championship at Phoenix. Obviously, he was going to win sometime this year. That's not news.
He tried to downplay that. It's not a big deal. I want to win anywhere, everywhere, and also like he was the last injured driver to win.
I'm sure that bugged him. I'm sure he's playing cool for the camera, but that had to have bugged him.
Yeah,
watching all of your teammates, especially the season that Larson had last year.
Yeah,
and you didn't win on a single oval because Larson's hogging up all the territory, all the real estate there. I'm sure that bugged him.
I don't know if you saw my tweet that I put out a couple nights ago comparing Larson's first 11 races this year.
Yes, I did see that.
Last year. He's pretty much on pace for where he was, except he has a couple more DNFs, not leading as many laps as he did, but has one win, has basically the same number of top 5s, top 10s. And it was this Darlington the next race, where he started taking off. He finished second, and that was the start of his. He had 6 straight races, finishing in the top 2.
And he made the Coke 600 an absolute snooze fest. He stunk up the whole show for sure. No, it's definitely something to bear in mind. And like, for as much as we talk about Trackhouse and parity now, and all these new winners. Hendrick still has a good chunk of the wins this season. I know that they're more spread out, especially because we are still so early into the season. But it certainly wouldn't surprise me if he went on a run, especially because the tracks coming up are tracks that suit him. Running high on the outside along the wall. That's Kyle Larson's MO. So, so we'll see. But speaking of Darlington, I know you wanted to talk about some throwbacks here.
Wait, hold on, because my laptop's about to die.
Oh no!
So I have to, unfortunately, get rid of my fancy high def webcam and my microphone, so I can plug in the charger, because my adapter does not agree with the charger. So hold. So yeah, now I'm just standard def. No fancy microphone.
You look like you migrated back to the year 2005. That's what...
All right, time to put on some ball out, boy.
Did you hear about this new movie called Batman Begins? They really made Batman grisly and dark. They said the same things.
Hey, that new Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith, looks cool. Go see it. Think about it. We just got a new Batman movie, a new reboot, a grittier reboot.
Yes.
And Ewan McGregor is back again as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it's 2005.
Yeah, new media is the same as the old media. But speaking of new and old, it's a perfect segue for Throwback Weekend. We were talking about this a bit off of the broadcast here, and we talked about this before via text, but I don't like Throwback Weekend on Mother's Day weekend, or just it being the spring Darlington race. I don't think it just doesn't mesh the vibe. To me, it fits much more. It fits much better with the Southern 500 in the fall. That's the bigger race. That's the more notable one. It's during the playoffs or just before the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot more drama to be had during the race. Also, I think the throwback schemes look cooler under lights. I know that this race will get to nighttime. But
Actually,
this
won't. Oh, it'll do early evening. The sun will still be out.
I just think NBC does a better job with the throwback stuff than Fox does.
If I had to pick a network to, be in charge of it, the throwback, I'd pick NBC or Fox.
It also just seems so petty. Like Fox wanted a throwback race, so they just, why can't you just have 2 throwback races?
Because
why not?
Then it's not special. If you need,
that's true. That's true. Then it's not special. But like Fox already had the Daytona 500. They get
I do. Yeah, I agree with you. Like Fox has way too much special stuff.
Yeah, Fox has Daytona 500. They have Bristol Dirt. They have the Coke 600. They've got the All-Star race. They've got a lot of marquee stuff to start out the season. And then I know NBC gets the playoffs, but like, where does that leave NBC? Like, if I was NBC, I wouldn't have relinquished this, but I know that Fox pays a bigger bill to NASCAR in terms of the media rights. So what Fox wants, Fox gets in that regard. But
Fox is the reason we got the dirt race.
Yeah.
They also get Coda, the Daytona 500.
Yeah. They got the Clash now at the stadium. Which was a huge ratings boom for Fox. So
Martinsville at night.
Yeah.
All-Star race, Coke 600. Meanwhile, on the back half, NBC, they get the playoffs.
They get the playoffs. They get some Southern 500. They get the second Daytona and Talladega races. Like, they have good races too. And they have the night race at Bristol. Again, all good races. But it just seems, I don't know. Anyways, that's my spiel on this. I don't. That's my. I know that you don't necessarily care as much as I do about that. That's just my. That's my mountain that's my molehill into a mountain. So.
Yeah. But I said I prefer the throwback race in the spring because it's a 400-mile race in the day, and for a long time in the 80s and 90s, that's what the spring race was, a 400-mile race in the day. And that went away, in the mid, 2000s when they built the lights, and Darlington also only got one race. So I like it. I think the racing at Darlington is better in the day. Just watch the Xfinity races from like the last 3 or 4 years.
They've been good.
They've been amazing.
I think they're both. I think Darlington races well at night or day. I think you're onto something about the day races putting on a better show. I think the night race still puts on a good show too.
Well, last year it did, thankfully, though they because they went to the lower downforce. Lower downforce higher.
But then also they had a couple night races there in 2020 due to COVID. Those were pretty fun. Obviously we get the infamous Chase Elliott flipping Kyle Busch off moment, but like those races I thought were pretty neat. Those races.
Well, that race benefited from being shorter.
Yes. They made them sprints. Yes.
From the most part, because the actual first race back that Harvick won really wasn't. The most notable thing that happened in that was that like Jimmy Johnson was on his way to winning at the stage.
Yes.
Then he wrecked coming out of turn 2. It's like, oh.
Yes, because he tried. Yeah, if I recall, he tried to do a slide job and just missed it or something.
Not a slide job. He tried to. I think he tried to side draft.
Yeah, he tried to do like something that he's done a million times, and he just missed it and spun into the wall.
Yeah,
when he was like the best car to start out that race. So, I know. I'm just looking at some of these throwback schemes here. Do you have any off the top of your head that kind of stick out?
Well, for me, I'm an Earnhardt guy, so the early winners are what Trackhouse Racing is doing.
Yes. Also, there's a new rule. Anytime like the two of us are on this show, just take a shot anytime you mention Trackhouse. So, because we talk about them all the time because we're just such big fans of that team. But no, their whole scheme with Little Lee and Dale Jr.'s throwback scheme. That's great. And both cars look really cool too.
From 1998 at the final Japan race that NASCAR held, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Dale Earnhardt Sr. both were sponsored by Coca-Cola, and Dale Jr. drove the number 1, which was a black car, and that's the one that Ross Chastain will drive, and Daniel Suarez in the 99 will drive the one that he'll drive this one that right there on my poster. So,
for those who are listening audio, not watching on YouTube, there's a poster in the background that Daniel pointed to with the red number 3 Dale Earnhardt car. But no, it looks cool. It looks really cool. Trackhouse, those
are the winners for me.
I don't think Trackhouse has ever had a bad design. Be it their own or throwbacks, like their graphic design. Whoever's doing the design on the artwork here, give them a raise because they're crushing it. I like.
The only downside of this is like Austin Dillon, who drives the 3 at RCR, is a Coke driver. He's one of the like 4 or 5 Coke drivers. So I don't get, unless RCR, unless there's just sponsorship was just locked in full, can't do anything about it. I think it's unfortunate that you couldn't see Chastain in the 1 in the Coke car and Austin Dillon in the 3 Coke car. I think that's unfortunate. But other than that, those are the winners.
I like how Corey LaJoie is going to be 777.
I love that scheme.
No, it's cool. It's really cool. I'm
as a music guy, you should. I would think you would appreciate his Marty Robbins scheme.
No, the Marty Robbins scheme is very cool, and just the 3 7s in a row there for it's very good. I just want to, like, there has to be like some sort of bet between the spotters, like how many times someone inadvertently calls it the 777 or something, or just gets the number wrong because they look at the side of the car and not the top. I'm just kind of scrolling here. I like Brad Keselowski's Mark Martin throwback. I think Kyle Busch's throwback, you could vote on Twitter, the 1998 scheme one. I think that's the one I voted for.
Which one?
The 1998 throwback M&Ms for Kyle Busch.
I voted for that one too.
I voted for that one. I do like Harrison Burton's throwback. Yep. I love.
Fun fact: the last time Jeff Burton used that Excite scheme, 8 days before Harrison Burton was born.
Damn, hell yeah! Now that makes me feel so old.
Oh no, the Kenseth and Mark Martin schemes, those make me feel old because that's inside. If it's inside 20 years, and I remember it, that's like, oh no, I don't like that at all.
Sticking with Harrison Burton though, just pink, blue, black, and white. Those colors just will always pop. It could be, I don't care what the sponsor is. What's the one from Xfinity that always get a Dude Wipes? It could be a Dude Wipes car, and that would look so cool. And like I'd probably still laugh because it says Dude Wipes, and we all know what that is. But are you a man, but you're too insecure to wipe your butt in a normal way? Get Dude Wipes, because you wipe your ass like a man, because you're a man.
Dude Wipes does not sponsor this podcast.
No, Dude Wipes does not sponsor this podcast, and they probably never will. Sorry to cost you on that one, Daniel. The William Byron throwback with the flames of Jeff Gordon.
Wait, what's Logano doing? I didn't know he was.
Logano's, it's a throwback to, like, I guess Pennzoil's been sponsoring him since he was like driving midgets, and so this is like a paint scheme that like his midget had. Like one of his first like sprint cars that he drove back as a kid.
Revealed yesterday. How do you feel about drivers throwing back to themselves? Like, what's your?
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it. I mean, Denny Hamlin's just throwing back to his last Daytona, the 2016 Daytona 500.
Yeah. That feels lazy to me. It's like,
which, like, aesthetically, it looks cool because, like, I love the dark colors on the FedEx car because it makes the orange and the purple pop out so much more than it does on the white. But no, you're right. It does feel a little half-assed. It's like, really?
I feel like if you're going to be throwing back to yourself, you need to do, like, well, what Logano's doing, that's fine. Like, that's fine. That's a personal thing for him. That's cool. Like, if you're going to, like, throw back to yourself in your own, like, NASCAR career, you need to do it, like, to start, like, very beginning.
Right.
Like, like Kurt Busch. I hope before he retires, he gets to do a John Deere throwback.
Man, every time I see a John Deere NASCAR, it'll always be Chad Little.
Yep.
It'll always be Chad Little.
I got to sit in a Chad Little show car once.
Hell
down
yeah.
in Texas.
Hell yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Oh boy.
Just a wee lad.
It was like 90s. I think it might have been like 98, so like 7.
Okay. So that's good. That's good show car sitting age. I don't know what the limit would be. It's like
You must be this tall.
like like a 45-year-old man sitting in a show car while like taking pictures while there's like a bunch of screaming kids that have been sitting out there for hours. It's like, sir, you have to get out of the chat little car. Damn it, I paid my ticket.
I know my rights.
I know my rights. Yeah. Oh, speaking of Kurt Busch, yeah, the Bill Elliott throwback, the McDonald's car. So good.
That's
so
I think
clean.
I think that's my number 2.
What's your number 1 again?
The
Coca-Cola ones. Yes. Trackhouse. Trackhouse is good. Kurt Busch.
William Byron's Gordon scheme from 2007.
Alex Bowman's Mark Martin theme looks great as well.
Like you'd be hard pressed to find a single bad Valvoline scheme.
Yes, no, they were all great. Yes, Ty Gibbs' throwback. It's like the old school interstate batteries with the lightning strike going down the side. Why do they do like the weird one now, where it's like it looks like the car, like the entire car is being electrified? I don't like that scheme. Or
what's better than the candy cane strike?
Yeah, the green one's not good either. But this was great.
They rode that for so long. It was like, I
know
nobody likes this.
No, this Ty Gibbs one's great. Like, why did they go away from this? Like, no one wanted this to change, and like it's iconic.
Well, I know that like that is the downside. This is the downside where I feel bad for the sponsors and the people who design their schemes. Where I'm like, if you do this, you're just reminding people about a better scheme. like that.
That's why you always got to bring the heat in your scheme game. That's why Trackhouse Take a Shot is always number 1.
Like, in that department. It's just it's unfortunate because so many of these schemes are better than the normal schemes.
Yeah,
it's just. I'm sorry.
No, the Marty Robbins one is cool. Yeah, shout out to Corey LaJoy for that.
Have you Ryan Vargas's attempt at the Jeff Gordon Pepsi scheme is? I mean, I like the idea, but
on this page. I don't see it.
It's in the Xfinity series, so it's basically the same shade of blue of Jeff Gordon's Pepsi scheme in the Xfinity series from like 98, 99.
Yes.
But unless you have the sponsor, it really, I would never have guessed that it was a Pepsi throwback.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yes, where the color and this layout of the car is identical, but the sponsorship is totally different.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that. Yeah.
No, I tweeted I tweeted earlier today. It's like, can please someone do a Star Wars throwback? Though that'd be really hard to do without.
I mean, hey, with the Batman coming out on HBO Max, we could have had like a throwback to the McDonald's Batman car. Oh, please.
When I interviewed Ty Dillon,
that movie made $300 million. You're telling me they can't throw a little bit at NASCAR just to bring that back and make us all happy? Oh my God, please. Yes, Ty Dillon. I'm sorry.
Well, I interviewed Ty Dillon late last year when he was originally going to be driving the 94.
Yes.
I was like, this is your opportunity, Ty, to do the throwback to the Thunderback. And he's like,
of the moment. And then
heat of the moment.
And I was joking. Because you said something about moment.
Oh, okay.
No, but seriously, no. If you're NASCAR, you
can't. Why are you bringing up the Asia hit from 1980?
If you're NASCAR, just lean all the way in and get sealed. Do the national anthem. Like bring in Jim Carrey in full Riddler regalia to do like the prayer. I'm sure that would go over well. What could go wrong?
I think the best Xfinity throwback is Justin Allgaier's Dale Earnhardt Wrangler scheme, because of course
that's great.
Of course, Dale Earnhardt Sr. drove a number 7 Wrangler car for 3 races in the Xfinity Series in 1984. Of course he did.
Yes.
Because there's always an Earnhardt scheme that you don't know about. There's always one. It's like, oh, all right, yeah, I see it. That's good.
He's been gone for 21 years and he's still a mystery. Bless that man. I'm drinking water right now. It's not beer in my cup, but I wish it was beer. But I'll cheers some water to Dale for always being a mystery. So.
Josh Berry's was obscure to me
because it's a throwback to a Dale Jr. Looney Tunes scheme that he ran at Richmond in 2004.
Yes.
That he won in. That, like, when they announced it, I kept looking at it. It's like, I have no idea what this is a throwback to. Which is weird since I'm a Dale Jr. guy.
I totally see it now, yes. But it's the same thing. It's the same problem with the Vargas car where the concept is the same, but the advertising is different. The sponsor is different. So you kind of lose. It gets lost in translation.
Yeah. It's like, but like, I appreciate it, but it's like.
But it's for sale right now at LionelRacing.com diecast for $60. The lucky Josh Berry fan wants to shell out $60 for it. So anything else? Okay.
Brandon Jones is doing Paul Menard's Brickyard 400 scheme. I was there for that race, so I appreciate it.
I was not there for that race, but a buddy of mine was there that I used to work with at the time. Big Jeff Gordon fan. Comes in like second that year, I think, and Menard wins. And so the very next day, I'm like, hey, how'd the race go? And the only thing he said was, Paul can suck my nards. I never forgot that. I laugh so now every time I hear Paul Menard, that's the only thing I think about is my friend being pissed off that he won the Brickyard 400 and saying Paul can suck my nards.
That was my first Cup race since 1999, and I was so ecstatic when Menard won.
It's a great story. Yeah, it's a great story. I'm glad he won. I mean, that was his only career win, was it not?
Yeah,
that's great. No, that's super cool. But like that all those good feelings get overshadowed by my very upset Jeff Gordon friend.
And Josh Blicky, the number 44 for Alpha Prime Racing, is apparently a throwback to Bill Elliott doing a Burger King scheme, because I didn't know Bill Elliott drove a Burger King car, apparently.
There's many things. You could write books of things that you don't know, and they'll put all those information in books that are really sad and depressing that you always like to read.
Jeremy Clements is doing another Wrangler Earnhardt throwback to 1982 when Earnhardt drove the 15.
Predictions for the race.
Ross Chastain. He's very, very good at Darlington. So I think that he's going to bring it home.
Man, you stole my thunder. You know what? You said you were sticking with Tyler Reddick until he wins. I'm going to do the same, but only for Ryan Blaney. I'm going to stick with Ryan Blaney until he wins. Because he's having a really good season. I mean, up until Dover, that was his only really bad day that he had up until that point. I forget where he did at Talladega, but plate racing is its own thing. Super speedway racing is its own thing. So you can kind of mitigate a bad result there. But he's just had such a good season on the whole. He seems like he's due to win something soon. I'm just going to stick with Blaney until he wins. That's my guy.
Well, Reddick's my number 2 pick.
Your number 2 pick?
He's my number 2.
Well, he's mine too. No, I don't know who my number 2 pick would be, honestly. I'll just pick another guy that hasn't won yet. I'll just say Truex.
Well, he won down the spring last year.
Okay, cool. So he can do it. So I'll say Blaney or Truex for sure. That's who I'll stick with. And then watch, we'll come back. Wow, Kyle Larson led every lap at 2. And they were led by Ryan Blaney, who stole
I don't think that's happening. I think this car, everything I've heard from drivers is saying it is a handful. There's lots of spin outs. So because they've done a fair share of tire tests and stuff there, and it's like Kyle Larson said he wrecked during a test there by himself. Yeah. Well, so I think.
We saw something like this at Fontana where everybody was spinning out. It was, Chase Elliott's and
we saw the practice at Dover on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, I think we're in for a treat on Sunday. I think that the track's really going to earn its Too Tough to Tame name with this car. I'm hopeful anyway.
They love saying Too Tough to Tame like we love saying Trackhouse Racing. So, or as Daniel Suarez calls it, Trackhouse Racing. I love how he says it. So, no, because in Spanish, they don't have the hard K sound and they don't have the H sound either. And they're both back to back in Trackhouse. So that's why he says Trackhouse Racing, because Spanish speakers don't typically have to pronounce words like that. So,
okay. All right.
Linguistics, Daniel.
And after that Spanish lesson, I think it's time to end this episode of Dropping the Hammer with Daniel McFadden. So I'm Daniel McFadden. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel McFadden. Follow and subscribe to the show on YouTube, which you've probably have not been watching on the live stream. But oh well. Follow us at youtube.com/Daniel McFadden. And please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. John, a good friend.
Yes.
Where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter at John LaFillet. Just find Daniel on Twitter and he'll tag me in the post for this episode. Also, I'm on Instagram at the same at John LaFillet. JONLAWFILET.
All right. Well, this has been another fun episode of Dropping the Hammer. I look forward to catching up next time. We'll have fun and enjoy this weekend's racing at Darlington Raceway, and congratulations to everyone who got elected to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I'm Dylan McFadden.
Too tough to tame.
I'm Dylan McFadden. Talk to you guys next week.
Recording stopped. Cool. I'd like to stay and chat some more, but I gotta go because I got tickets to see that Nicolas Cage movie, so I gotta bail.
I saw that last week.
Is it good?
It's fun.
Okay.
It's good. It's going to be a like many Nicolas Cage movies before. It's going to be one of those movies where if you catch it on a Sunday afternoon on TV, like, all right, I'll watch this.
Yes, I saw your tweet. I'm looking forward to it. Have you seen The Northman?
That's not for me.
That movie is heavy metal as hell.
Not for me. Yesterday I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I like that movie. I didn't love it. I get why people are just gushing over it.
It's a lot.
Exactly. It's a lot. I need to see it again. I liked it, but like I had some people, like one of my friends like swears by it and he was like, it's my new favorite movie of all time. Like, oh, word?
No, but the cast was really, really good. Like Short Round's back.
Yes.
This is the first movie in decades.
Yeah, the cast is good. The cast is good.
Like the daughter, like she really impressed me. Like I feel like I should know. I feel like I've seen her somewhere, but I can't think of it.
Butt plug scene. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I should have seen it coming when they showed the trophies. Like
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the dildo fights.
Yes. See, I don't know. No, like to me that felt like, again, like I know so many people that saw that movie like, oh, that was my favorite part. It's like that felt like so. I don't know. That sort of humor in that sort of setting just feels so lazy. Like I thought the fanny pack scene was way funnier. I thought like the fanny pack fight scene that was way better and way more clever. It's like I don't know. Like if I want like cheap butt humor, like I'll go watch Jackass. Like that's what that's for. Yeah. I don't know. It just really kind of sucked a lot of the air out. Again, on the whole, I liked it. I don't understand. I can see where people are gushing about it, but I don't quite appreciate the level that they do. But I need to see it again because you said there's a lot. It's almost like it's everything all at once. And with that, I will leave you be.
All right, man.
We'll talk over text. Just tag me and stuff, and I'll post on my socials and everything too, and spread the word.